Okay, you guys, we are live and we are on a recording.
Get the opportunity to have a one-on-one.
Welcome to the Tax Talk.
Welcome to the
The
tax.
tax talk. That sounds too official. All right. So I guess I'm gonna facilitate, but I'm not gonna have a whole lot to say. I don't, like Sharon said in the message, we don't know everything, but I will say that this year when the video came out, I don't know, a month ago, I think, on Voxer. And I was just like, oh, let me watch this. I bet I'm probably already doing it all, but whatever. And I was playing it on the side while I was doing some other stuff. And like the first part of it, I was like, yeah, I know that. And then all of a sudden she started to really push some buttons. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I stopped doing what I was doing and I watched her. And I realized that while I was doing pretty good, I was missing out on a lot of stuff. So I love that we can help some of you guys who want to grow your business and make more. I don't want you guys to miss out on some of this because I'm banging my head against a wall going, oh my gosh, I've missed out on, sorry, I've got dogs running back and forth because the kids are going to be taking them for a walk. So, while I may have missed out on some, tax breaks in the past, we want to be able to try and answer as many questions, excuse me, as we can. And, again, we don't have all the answers. Sorry, hold on. Let me let them in the house. You can take over, Sharon.
Okay. Well, I think that we have some answers. You always want to go to a tax person because tax laws change every year. So even if we did know the answers this year, it's going to be different next year. So what we found is that just filing your regular taxes, with say H&R Block or yourself, it's better to go to a tax strategist. Like Karen had a conversation with the lady who's on the video, and the lady said, you can have a tax preparer, but to strategize on, well, maybe you want to do this so that you can write this off, that's a tax strategist. And what we found through this Juice Plus business, and also I went to a direct selling association meeting many years ago, you can make like an extra $500 a month basically of offsetting your taxes, just, writing off things through this. So it's really a good tax break. And the laws for taxes were really meant for the small business owners. It was like way back when people had farms and they wanted to give them a break, and they haven't really changed that. So we get to take advantage of that because we have a small business and it's all very legal. You always want to be on the up and up with what what you're thinking. If it really is something that because of the business, you have this expense, or you couldn't do the business without this expense. Those are the kinds of things that I think about. I wouldn't be able to do the business without my cell phone, without my laptop, without my internet. And those are all things that we would normally pay for on our own if we didn't have a business. So those are some of the general expenses that you just get to write off because you do have a business. You know what I'm saying? And then there's real costs, like say a new person signs up, that's $52. So you want to start keeping track of that. So, okay, I spent $52 in 2021 or 2020. So now we're keeping receipts for what? 2021, right? So any expense that you had so far this year that's a real expense, like if you bought samples of the chewables, if you give away shake all the time and it's your order of shake, if you, I don't know, if you go out to lunch with somebody and you buy their lunch because you were talking to them about Juice Plus, stuff like that, those are real expenses, okay? And so the other thing is that you want to eventually, and sooner rather than later, is have a little business account on the side or a business credit card. It just keeps it all cleaner, So Karen, I wanted to show my template, but you go ahead.
Well, you can't. So I was going to say, I think when you're just starting out, right, and you're making a couple $100 a month, that's not as important. We're talking about, you want to have the mindset of where, if you are intentional in growing this business, is what you want to be able to do that. You always can write off, and the best part about this business in the beginning is you can claim losses, right? So if you're making $200 a month and you have those, I have, X amount in expenses, you may actually claim a loss and save a lot of money. And you can get away with that for a few years before, you have to start showing a profit. But So this is really just, we're not saying to go get a tax strategist right away if you're making $200, but there's certain levels where you want to become an LLC and do the S Corp and stuff. But yeah, so let me just say real quick, because I know you have your own thing. I put this, I don't want to forget to share this. I put this in the files section of Team Transformers on Facebook group and it just is a line item of different expenses that maybe I looked at this and I was like, I probably have like 90% of them. So I'm doing pretty good, but if I can write off another 10% of stuff that I'm not doing now, how great is that? So.
Do we have any questions so far? I'm going to show you like an example.
Somebody did ask about the 1099, and I think, Sharon, correct me if I'm wrong, it used to always be if you make $600 or more in commission that you get your 1099 from the company. Has that changed?
No, that's true.
Okay. So yeah, so I know I've always gotten my 1099 in the mail. And I guess you can probably pull it off from the virtual office. I've never had to do that, but
Yeah.
but if you did not get a 1099 last year, then you didn't make over $600, so it did not get sent to the IRS. So what happens is that retail profit is ours, right? That's the benefit of being the representative. So you could have made all that money, you could have made a couple $100 back in retail profit. They don't send that to the IRS. It's only when you start to make the commission.
Okay, so right now, whatever expenses you have, you just want to keep track of them. I keep them in a folder. Right now it's not even the best folder. I've just got a folder for 2021. I just shove receipts in there. And my receipts are not actually for going and working through my receipts. They're my backup for my expenses that I know are on my business credit card or my business checking account. Okay. So I don't like go through the receipts unless I have to. I do a little bit, but I don't want to depend on the receipts. I want to depend on having a business credit card or business checking account. Then those are my backup if I ever have an audit. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen, but keep in mind that I'm further along on this than you guys. And I have what's called, I'm incorporated. Okay. When you become incorporated, you can write off a lot more. All right. So you can write off your automobiles, car payments. And so this is where, you're going to do a Schedule C. If you're not incorporated, you're going to write off some stuff. You're going to write off like mileage and things like that. But I depend on my people to figure all that out. Okay, pretty much anybody I talk to, I'm talking to about Juice Plus. So any trips I make can be written off. That's my idea. And also I'm the president, or no, Doug's the president. I'm the vice president of our corporation. So our cars are able to be paid off or written off, whatever you want to call it. So any kind of anything to do with the autos, basically I write them off. Okay. Any citations, too bad that's on there, but it's true. I'm just being totally transparent. I didn't even look at this before I pulled it up. So any kind of fees, parking, whatever. If parking, like I went to the beach with my mother-in-law, who is a customer, but I did not write that off. I just used my regular card because, you want to be truthful. And then bank fees, you can write those off, like your business account bank fees. And then we used to have a lot of events. So anytime I attended an event like conference and I paid $150, I would write that off, or 100, whatever it was. Any kind of expense in hosting an event, like we had a Christmas get together. So I had bought some stuff. I wrote that off. If I have a wellness presentation, or if we have a tower garden thing, I don't think we really have much expense with that. Any kind of expense you're hosting. And the great thing about hosting events and having all this food is, of course, your family gets to eat the leftovers, but you still get to write it off, right? And then any kind of incentives like for contests, stuff like that. Promotional supplies, we may not be buying as many promotional supplies right now because we're not out as much, but like t-shirts, water cups, and you guys will be able to fill in for what I'm not thinking about. You could put it in the chat what I'm missing when I say promotional supplies. When we go to conference, we buy a bunch of stuff too, like the research summaries, the brochures, things like that. There are promotional supplies. samples. So I have two different, accounts, business checking, business American Express. So I have two different places to put that. And so if I buy samples or I buy single serve shake, or I'm making a lot of shake because we were doing like the wine and wellness down the road, I'll just, sometimes write it off. Advertising, promotion. It's not really advertising. I don't remember what I wrote there. Charitable contributions. I used to have childcare. You can write off childcare. Meals and entertainment. There's now a limit. Is it 50%, Karen, of what you can write off? Office expenses. So any kind of thing that you're using for the office, paper, printer, whatever, that's also equipment. So it kind of merges together a little bit. Office supplies, office expenses. Online, so we have so many online services, me and Doug. It's ridiculous. Project Broadcast, Boxer, Dropbox. This isn't the most recent list here. But all of those I write off. Amazon Prime, I'll write off because I send gifts through Amazon Prime. Teamsy when we did that. So any of those I can't think of all the online services we have. We have so many though. Trainings, yeah, any Audible. Trainings like Audible. And then, if we attend a Ray Higdon event online, we write that off up there with the event. So anything online, basically, most likely is something we're writing off. And then when you are incorporated, you pay yourself, and the tax person helps you to pay yourself. That way you're keeping it all in the up and up, and that's when you're making more money. Okay, so you end up paying yourself, and that way we are paying some taxes because we want to pay some taxes, right? And then postage and delivery. I hate going there, but there are some times when I will go there, and so I have postage and delivery. Professional development and fees, like when I do get my taxes done, and it's a lot of money now. It's like 1,000 something for us to have a business and personal tax done together. Then that's like $1,000 to get your taxes done, but they really give you so much back that you don't mind. So you write that off. Renew, and also when you're incorporated, it's $150 a year that you pay the state of Florida. And then renewal fee, that's $52, right? Taxes, I can't think of taxes. I don't remember what that is. Okay, cell phone, any prescriptions, any dental, any medical. So anytime my insurance doesn't pay all of it, because there's co-insurance, there's deductible, stuff like that. When you're incorporated, you get to write that off, okay? If you can incorporate, then I would just not do it if I was brand new. Any gifts you give, I think there's a $50 limit to giving a gift and writing it off. Rent. So our house, we use it for presentations, things like that. So I write off, I think it's $1,000 a month I write off. Travel, we usually have major expenses for travel. And say Hawaii, which we haven't really discussed this. We are going to Hawaii in July. If we had an event at the beginning of the trip and then at the end of the trip, we could write off the whole trip. Okay. So that is another thing. And it has to really be legitimate. Like you want to save the flyers. There's so much that we already have digitally that it's already saved. But also travel expenses to conference, or like Michelle and I went to Orlando once. So any of those toll things, any of the expenses with us going there, that would be that. And then, yeah, I think that's it for now, but that just gives you an idea. And then you can start to think, if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't, if it wasn't for the business, I wouldn't be buying this. So you want to write that off, put it in your receipts, keep it in your business checking or American Express.
Hey, Sharon. Yeah. I was going to say it can be really intimidating and scary to see that long list, but when the rubber meets the road, now Sharon is our in-house tax person. She's kind of gathering all that stuff. But the way it really works, because it's not like she's working on this all the time, it literally comes down to those credit cards or the American Express. So like when I get gas in the car, I just use the American Express. If I go and if I thought of it, Sharon, I probably could spend on like workout equipment. Like clothing. Is that right? We could. But so yeah, if you just use the right credit card, then it's all kind of listed and it makes it really simple. And then the other thing about planning like the Hawaii trip is, you know, it makes a big difference, all this stuff. You might say, well, I'm going to write off this lunch. Well, it's only $2 or $10. It's not going to matter. It matters big time in the end once you figure it all out for the year. And then like the Hawaii trip's going to cost so much that it's worth like even planning the trip in a way where, you know, what if our layover was in California and we could do a trip, or New Mexico? You know, we have a lot of team there. It's because we don't have any team in Hawaii. So we do have to work on those flights, Sharon. We should do some events, beginning and end. You better believe I want to write off that whole trip. Unmute and let's hear some questions.
Questions.
I have a question for them. I'll get them going. Sharon, at what point should somebody incorporate? I know we kind of said it, but can you give a more definitive answer?
I mean, I would definitely do it after $1,000. You know, when you know you're serious, when you know you're moving up, when you're committed to making this work, I would incorporate. It just shows the government that you're taking it seriously. My tax guy said, you know, a while ago, they'll let you lose money a couple years as a hobby, but then, you know, you need, and trust me, we're still quote losing money a lot as an incorporation, but it's okay for some reason as an incorporation. Okay, so don't ask me, but I would incorporate whenever you can, as like over $1,000 when you know that you're not. I don't know about LLC. I think it's one or the other. How do you know you have the right accountant person? Okay, there's one person that Leanne Gordon recommends, Tom Bass. There's the lady on the video, Courtney Epps. Then I have my guy in Coral Springs. You know, those are the three that I would say they understand that the people I know. I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of them out there, but those are the three that I know, that you just want to go with somebody who understands that you want to get some small business write-offs. I'm not sure. My guy is with Nations Business. His name's Ernie Cruz.
Sharon, do you think that they all know all the states? So you've got people here in Chicago, you've got people, do you think that they all know, you know, there might be little differences between the states?
Yeah, I mean, I would say for long distance, it would be either Courtney Epps or, I mean, Tom Bass. So because they are more virtual, you send the stuff to them virtually. My guy is virtual for doing the taxes right now, but he's local. So I don't know about LLC, Bella. That's why I said it's one or the other. Bella, I mean, it's Bella or it's Bella. No, it's Bella or it's Hyvel or it's just kidding.
So I will say I mean, I almost choked when I made the appointment. And that's why I say you want to be making more, because for 30 minutes to talk to Courtney Epps, it was $99. Right now, I knew that I could write that off. So that was fine. I'm also at a different level, you know, and I'm kicking myself that I didn't do some of this. And one of the things she said is, she said, the very first thing you need to do is, you know, do LLC, make yourself an LLC. And she says, and then we can work on, you know, the S Corp. But then there's other, you know, there's other expenses that come along with that. And it is like right now I have a tax preparer and he's been great for years. And he's a couple $100. And then when she said, well, for us to do your taxes, and she's like, it's $1,200. Again, I got kind of nauseous and I just thought, holy cow. And then I talked to Sharon and she's like, no, I think that's, you know, normal when you're talking about all the expenses, and to have a tax strategist, somebody who's going to be looking out for you, not just using my Excel spreadsheet and filling in the thing and then giving it back and going here. Like, you know, they just haven't been looking out for me and coming up with things. So, you know, that's kind of tough, but so you don't need to do that tax, you know, strategy session right away. But I know that LLC was important, but there's also different things. Like as soon as you do the S Corp, you have to start, doing payroll. And that's like an additional $50 a month to have a company that does the payroll. Like there's a lot of little things that start with that. So I don't want to get too overwhelming at that level, because I think that's later on. But I think right now, just thinking about all the little things. Now I'm a little bit more OCD with all of my receipts. I keep them all and I keep them separate. Like I actually have a file folder and I keep gifts and whatever, and I keep everything together that way. But the way Sharon does it too, I was told a long time ago, put everything on a credit card. But there was a lot of years, guys, where my Juice Plus income was helping our general income. Like I couldn't keep it separate. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you just can't. So that's why the receipts are really good too, because sometimes it can't, always be on that credit card, or it can't, you're spending more than what, you're making to be able to, pay off a credit card and then have that in the checking. So what other questions? Oh gosh, I see there's like a bunch in the chat. It could be just comments. Nope.
Well, you check out the chat, and let me just say that I know there's some people that'll be like, oh, this is a great idea. I have all those things I could write off. So let me, if I get this upgraded version of TurboTax, I can just do it in there and I won't spend the $1,000 that Karen is talking about. Trust me. TurboTax doesn't know what the tax guide, it knows it, but it doesn't do it for some reason. So all you need a tax person, because they're going to know the law, especially those tax people like Courtney or the guy from Leanne. Those are people that specifically work within the network marketing area and people with small businesses. I think Ernie too, I mean, obviously. So you want to make sure they're using all the law to your advantage. And you're just not going to get that through like a software based thing, or just going over to the, whatever, the HR blocks and stuff like that.
I have a question, and for Karen or Doug and Sharon. The strategist, is she doing your taxes, Karen?
She lives in Greenville, South Carolina, and I think she said she either has 25 or 35 employees. Like, so I've been reaching out to, I think her name is Erica, like she's my person, but Courtney Epps is the one that I spoke to on the phone for the strategy session. And then she says that, her team works on the taxes, but she looks and finalizes every single one of them.
Okay, because, so for instance, I do Juice Plus, but my husband has a corporate job. So we have someone that does prepare our taxes, but would it be beneficial, but we file joint? I don't know,
So she's going to do all of my taxes. Like she would do, because my husband, right. My husband does corporate, right? He gets the W-2. So it's going to include that as well as the Schedule C, which is a part of our overall joint taxes. The Schedule C is just a part of it.
Okay, well, I really like my accountant though. I don't know if I can leave her.
I thought I liked mine too.
No, you did, and you talked to her. Okay, maybe it's just a matter of talking to her and just seeing.
Yeah, your accountant might be fine. You just have.
I'm gonna chime in here. The lady on that presentation apps, she said once you start making $1,000, you should do an LLC. I have a business, like beauty business. So it's a good idea to do an LLC because it takes the liability off of you. But I have a regular W-2 job and my Schedule C, and my accountant figures it all out.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm sick. So if you can't hear me.
My accountant does the Schedule C, guys. Any accountant can do a Schedule C. Don't get me wrong. He's done a great job. What he has not been is he has been a tax preparer, like I had told Sharon, not a tax strategist. So again, I've gotten the spreadsheet from Sharon years ago, right? And I plug stuff in and I send it to him and he goes, okay. And then he plugs in off it, but he's not looking out for me going, well, hey, you did, like Courtney right on the call, she's like, well, you don't seem to have enough here in meals. You're not writing off this. And I was just like, and she's like, what about travel? And I went, well, did you know we had COVID last year? I was like, we didn't. She's like, well, certainly and so he never questions all that stuff. He just takes the numbers and he plugs it in. So he does a Schedule C, which is great because I can't do it. My dad passed away last year and I tried to do the stupid free TurboTax for my dad's. And I finally just paid him to do it because it's so crazy. I can't even imagine. doing my taxes on there. It's just not even worth it.
Okay, Gabby and Ryan have something to contribute also.
Yep.
What?
I texted Sharon asking. Okay,
Oh.
this is my boyfriend Ryan.
I was just well, first off,
Okay, for the longest time, I have to figure out, is it me or them?
taxation, just got to put that out there.
Okay, you're gonna have to repeat that because you were
But
told.
beyond that, I was talking about
Is it working?
it's definitely us. We're driving. We're going 90 miles an hour in the
Sorry.
turnpike right now.
Okay, calm down, Ryan, and watch the road, but say it again, and we'll see if it works.
I was saying about how I have my own small business, and I use QuickBooks for everything. And you link your business checking account to QuickBooks, and you can also link your if you have a no, it's not working. QuickBooks, like I write off my lunch I don't know if it's working. Is it working?
Yes, you use QuickBooks, it attaches to your business checking, and you eat lunch every day. But
Yeah,
you write it off.
Every day. And then I think, I don't know if Gabby sent it in the description, but a good website to use to set everything up that I found that was the best was amerilawyer.com. So it's like AMERI lawyer.com. And they've got a great setup where you can handle everything, from getting your workman's comp exemption to filing anything and everything that you would need to file with your LLC, including doing the S Corp elect, I believe.
Okay, great. I know that's a little over our heads a little bit with the workers' comp. And the question of LLC or S Corp, you got to talk to your tax person. So my sister works for H&R Block, and I've been asking her some questions on the side. She has LLCs. She said there are different advantages to both. Okay, LLC and corporation. She chose to be a sole proprietor. I don't know what that is. For the rental business, she formed 3 LLCs, but decided not to transfer the homes into them, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, she went with a large umbrella policy. Okay, but then I said, isn't S Corp protection also? She said it would be protecting your personal assets. Yes. You can also form an LLC and elect to be treated as an S Corp. So that's all like a foreign language to me, and probably you also. That's why we have those people to help us. So you want to, get with the person, but it sounds like either one is fine, the LLC or S Corp. But at first you're just writing things off as just, little things when you just start. I don't want to freak anybody out. Okay.
I have a question. Oh,
Go ahead, Jules.
I just asked in the chat, I wanted to know if Karen thought the consult with Courtney Epps was worth it. And does she put that $99 towards your tax return if you use her? And do you have to do the consult? Or can I just say, I'm going to use her?
Okay, let me see if I remember them all. So was the $99 worth it? What she did is I sent her my taxes, and she looked at it and she kind of poked holes in it. She was like, this is what you're missing. This is what you're missing. You could do this. You're not using. So you don't
What do you mean?
have to.
You sent her you sent her like your last tax return, or you sent her your
Yes.
write-off?
No, I sent her my whole last tax return, and she looks at that because she wants to see, what are you missing? How are you doing? Whatever. And that's
Okay.
that's what
Okay.
we talk about during the thing. And so that's how I determined I'm doing pretty good. Like, I'm doing pretty good. It's not like she was like, oh my gosh, you've missed, $30,000. That wasn't the case. But there was definitely some areas that I can write off that I had been missing out on. So you don't have to do that tax strategy. I had already done my taxes for this year, so I did not ask if $99 could go towards it. So I don't know that one. And then what was the third question?
Was it worth it?
Yeah, I think so. Because then right away I was on the phone with Sharon, not on the phone, but on Voxer with Sharon, hyperventilating, going, oh my gosh, I can't, And so I think at our level, again, when you're making, a few $1,000s a month, to be able to write all that stuff off. And I only plan on making more money. I don't want to keep missing out on that. And she mentioned, I can never remember the name of it, but she mentioned something like the Augusta something where, Sharon said she writes off her house. And I know somebody put in here, you can write off your office. So my accountant, which I guess is okay, has always been very, he doesn't want to raise red flags. So he's always been super careful, which is, I'm appreciative of. But I've never had a office like in Florida. It was an office and a guest room, and it wasn't just an office. So I never felt like I could write that space off. In Georgia, I actually have an office, so I was able to write. It's only 5% of what the size of the house is because we have a big house, but I'm able to write that off and write off some of the water and the air conditioning and all that stuff. Collins. And then, but then I didn't know I could be writing off the rest of the house for the salad in a jar parties that I'm having and all of that stuff. So that was great. I know Sandy has something.
And Kristen,
Oh,
both.
all right. Sandy and Kristen, anybody? Jules, did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think I'll probably do it just to see.
I toy around with, do I go with her or do I go with somebody else? But I think they're all probably, I don't know who Leanne Gordon uses. I got to think they're all probably around the same price,
Yeah. And the great thing is when you do find someone, you can bring them, like if you've been in the business for a while, you can bring them your tax returns for the last 2 years and they'll look at it. And if they can, make money back on those too, they will also. Okay.
One more thing, Sharon. So, we've been with Ernie for a long time, and he's really been good for us. And so we referred a friend to him, and he went in with his little side business. And so you sit down with a tax strategist, and they're like, "Well, did you drive your car?" "Yeah." "Okay, well, let's put down gas. How much do you think you drove?" So he's asking questions. It's important that you don't go in there and think, oh, if I just inflate this a little bit, that a little bit, this, don't inflate stuff, because my friend who we referred ended up getting a $10,000 penalty, and he was very upset that he got a $10,000 penalty. I'm like, well, why don't you just tell the truth? You're going to save enough just telling the truth. So don't try to work the system too hard. The laws already favor us.
What was the penalty for?
He didn't have document. So if you say you did salad in a jars, Jules, and you spent $10,000 on groceries, what if they audit you and they say, we'd like to see the receipts for the $10,000 in groceries? Well, now you got a problem. You don't have the receipts because you only spent $1,000 in groceries. So that's what he did.
Yeah, so you want to be honest. That's common sense. Okay, Kristen?
Okay, so I am just now popping in because my daughter had an orthodontist appointment. So I'm just now getting on. So I apologize if this has already been discussed. But I'm wondering about Juice Plus receipts because I'm giving a lot of my samples. I'm giving a lot of my product as samples to people. So how do you recommend keeping track of that? And we don't necessarily get receipts per se. So I'm wondering how you suggest keeping track of those in our records.
So a business account, I would use a business account. So sometimes pay for shake every once in a while from your business account, or the samples from your business account. That's just going to keep it cleaner. And then it will be debited there. And then if you ever needed a receipt, you could go to the company, but it'll be cleaner if you have it on your business account.
Okay, so you're saying that I should buy just samples from the business account or everything? Because no, okay.
Samples. No, your Juice Plus, I don't consider that a business expense. Anytime you think that you're using a lot of shake because you're having parties, then just buy a thing of shake. And you could even call it samples, when you go in the virtual office or whatever. Or, buy the sample packs. And right, just every once in a while, as much as you think you're actually using, then you use the business credit card or business checking account.
Okay, and then I have another question. I used to be incorporated as an LLC. I previously had a business, so I'm wondering if that might be an issue when I go to incorporate again.
I don't think so. And
No, there's people have lots of businesses.
right. No, and maybe, if it's at all related, you could always, or if you wanted to keep it going, you might be able to do a DBA, doing business as a different name. So again, you would talk to a tax person for that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Vella, you seem real strong on your tax knowledge. Let's hear from you. Hi, Val.
Yes, I went in 2 weeks ago and I was so happy that I was able to take advantage of that Zoom call.
Good.
And I walked away with my tax guy actually asking me if I wanted a job. Because I took a lot of notes and I was like, okay, let's look at this. Let's look at that. Did you think about this? And what I did with the Juice Plus business was I put it on the company. So I took it off of the name and put it on my husband's LLC because we have a few properties. So I kind of merged everything to make it a little bit easier for ourselves to navigate. And it was really helpful. And I didn't know about the square footage as far as the office space, the AC. We actually even bought a new truck and I was able to depreciate that and use that also. So I was happy about the information because I didn't know. So I was grateful for the opportunity just to listen because I think we saved a lot of money and I'm grateful for it. So thanks to the community.
Awesome. Okay, good.
And you can do as much LLC as you want. You're not limited to 1 or 2. You can do that even for your children as an advantage also to get them started early.
What did you say about the children? Get them on the payroll?
You can get them on the payroll. You can start them off with a business. It just opens up actually the years or just the time they have as far as when they start out. So you can give them some advantage because they'll look like they had years in business. And say, if you don't have a company credit card, it's crucial that you do. As far as, have a shell card, all you need is an LLC and your EIN number. And there's certain ones that you're able to get really easy. But when you get a credit card, it takes away all the little receipts and stuff. So you have it in one place. You dedicate that card to all transactions just to make life easier.
Yes. And like My American Express, it gives me an end of the year summary and it breaks it down. Automobile, travel. It's really nice. Kristen.
Okay, so getting kids on the payroll. This is genius. I wish I had known about this years ago because my girls have been in my videos. They've been modeling for me, helping me set up for events. So how do you determine what to pay them?
That's beyond Karen.
That's a great question because I only just learned that you can pay up to $12,000 a year to your kids. Now my kids are not worth, they don't do that much work for me. And I'm sure you have to show, right? Like they're on their payroll. That's when you get to the point with the payroll. But yeah, if you say that, they're in the video or, oh, you know what, they maintain my tower garden or, whatever, I think you just need to figure out, that's another accountant question, but that's one of the things I was talking to Courtney about. And she said, do your kids ever help you? And I'm like, yeah. And I throw them $10 and she goes, that should be written off. I've never written that stuff off. So, I've never done a substantial amount of paying them, but if we're going to start doing that, then you can, even if it's a couple $100 a year, that's, you know, a couple $100 a year that you can write off.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, that's one of the answers we
Well-
don't have for sure. Go ahead,
I have a
Dougie.
question.
Dougie's got a question.
So if you pay your kids, I guess, are you really paying your kids, or is it like you kind of show that you're paying your kids, but you really don't pay your kids? Because if you're writing something off, I mean, if you're avoiding taxation on that amount, you still would be paying them 80% or so. You know what I mean? So it's like, do they mean we should really pay our kids, or like we're already giving an allowance or something anyway, so we should just call it a paycheck?
Yeah, so that,
I don't
well, so that I didn't get into, Courtney, because I only had 30 minutes, but when she said, as she says at the end of it, she goes, call me in October, and that's when we're going to start going over in detail, you know, some of that stuff. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, but I'm sure you could do like their normal, you know, whatever. If they're helping you with Juice Plus, I don't know whether it actually has to show on payroll. That's the only question I don't, you know, or if you just write a check, or if you can show that you Venmo'd or Zelle. Like, I don't have the answer to that question.
Yeah, I mean, come up with what you think it's worth. You're the business owner, and that's how much you're paying your kids. As long as you have good reason, and, gee whiz, and good documentation, then it's probably going to work out. You're not going to pay them an exorbitant amount probably. Let's think of some other questions. I'm going to get the dog out of here.
I will say, when you're incorporated, your taxes, if you file an extension, they're not due till October. So I literally just filed my taxes for last year.
Yeah.
That's another benefit.
And your taxes are due in a month earlier if you're incorporated. So whenever you're ready for that. But yeah, you can do an extension too. The
Sharon, do you guys pay your, like, do you do anything quarterly, or you just still do it annually?
I don't do anything quarterly.
Okay.
And we're able to write off a lot, so we don't usually end up paying a lot of taxes. So we don't have to feel like we needed to pay quarterly.
Yeah.
So you want to do a good job writing off as much as you can.
Well, we also pay ourselves.
Oh yeah, we
through
pay
the-
ourselves payroll.
through the payroll service, and we
Right.
we pay ourselves pretty low pay, but we do tax on that.
Yes.
And so we kind of have, I think the tax guy must have figured out the right amount to pay us,
Right.
where we end up kind of not owing anything. We don't get anything back, but we're hardly paying anything in taxes. So
Right.
it ends up being pretty low, like significantly like half the tax rate of what they say taxes costs.
Kristen, you had anything? Kristen Basse?
No,
Okay.
I was just listening. No, I started using the credit card, and even this year, Matt said the folder's really thin. And I said, because instead of having a million receipts and losing half of them, I have an American Express that I designate to anything like samples, or, you know, even a box of shake, because I do give that out a lot. Anything that's my professional OT license, when I go to conference, anything like that, it's on there. So now it was just a much easier process.
Right. That's good. That's good feedback. Sandy, you had something to say? Sandy?
Oh, I didn't catch the beginning of the conversation, but I was just saying I don't want to say specific numbers, but at our levels, I do have one of those really, what do you call that? Conservative yet aggressive tax guys. And he has highly recommended for the last 8 years. He's in Coral Springs. If you ever want to switch, he's amazing. But he has highly recommended that we stick with my expenses and my business as a Schedule C. Just because until you're making like over a certain number, you really don't need to get into that additional, business part of it, like with the S Corp. And because, with those, you have other expenses at the same time. You have to file a separate tax return. The Schedule C is just a worksheet that's included in your regular tax forms that you would already be doing. So that was just, I mean, not to get too far off topic, but that was just what he had said is, and he takes a lot. Like Karen mentioned, the office space that's a guest room. Well, my house is like this, and the office is the guest room and the storage room and a closet, and we write off the square footage for that. We write off, you know, I forget the exact number, but it's like a 0.8% of the electricity, of the internet, all sorts of things. But you can do that within the Schedule C and take those deductions, but still save at the same time. So I don't even want to tell you how much money we got back, but it was mind-boggling this year. What he was able to do despite no travel.
Helps to have the extra child too, Sandy.
Well, yeah, but we play our numbers in all areas. We play with the Schedule C, we play with Hugh's business. We actually have them all open at the same time and adjust numbers to see how they change. It's pretty cool.
Oh my gosh.
And I do, like, I would have never paid somebody $1,200 a year if I was making $1,000 a month. I don't think, you know what I mean? Like, I do think that and gone into an S corp, because again, it's, you know, another $50 a month for payroll. So I think that depends on what, you know, what your other tax situation is with like your spouse, and you need to talk to your accountant, because everybody's situation is going to be a little bit different. This is just general, like, you know, don't miss out on, you know, easy stuff. And again, I come back to where I'm that OCD person and I save all my receipts. And I did get audited back in 2012. I wasn't even making that much. And I'm like, really? You flagged me? I'm like, aren't there more important people? And I went with, and thankfully I'd already had everything. And I actually have, like, you know, my binder, and I had all the receipts, and I went there. I was there for 5 minutes because I laid out everything and I showed her everything, and she's like, okay, you know, she asked me 2 questions and that was it. So I think the more, if that does happen, I think the more prepared you are, you know, to save enough stuff. I don't do the American Express, and I mean, I have a different credit card that breaks it all out, but you know, saving receipts for me, just because it makes me feel better.
And anytime you buy clients gifts, you can write those off too.
Yes, it's an actual expense. It's good.
Yeah. So at Christmas time, I send everybody, I write off my Christmas cards because I have over 100, you know, customers that I send that to. I write off the postage. I write off, I'm always sending them a gift. I mean, I write off all of that stuff.
So what it is it's just taking away from your tax load of your own personal account, you know, or maybe your husband's, or your own personal taxes, or your husband's, or, you know, there's Denzel. I don't know if, I didn't mean to be,
Come on, honey.
sorry. Or your spouse is what I meant. I have to be politically correct. And it's correct, yes. So he's out there watering the lawn while we're doing the lunch and learn. Sorry, he wants me to be politically correct. Anyway, hi Carol, welcome. Carol's new. Welcome, welcome. She was at our Tower Garden open house, right? Is that Carol? Is that Carol? Anyway, so we don't have all the answers, but you want to find your sweet spot. You just want to make sure that you're doing your best and not to get freaked out by all this. And as you make more and more money, just know there's more and more things you could do to write off your taxes. Oh, Denzel, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, you were just saying don't get all freaked out about it. I'm like, yo, this is so much information, but I feel like I'm gonna have what I need when I need it, type of thing. Because I'm consulting one of my accountants right now for my taxes from last year, and the good thing is Juice Plus I started this year, so now I'm listening to what everything that everybody's saying. It's like, dang, it's so much to this game. Like, I feel like as long as my attention's on it, I'll be okay. Don't worry about missing all this stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they'll teach us this in school. I'm like, where was this at?
Exactly. And so it might fuel some interest for you to find out. So we have the queen of taxes on here. She might not think so, but she has been doing this for a long time. And you guys get to meet Amy Getz, who is the sponsor of my sponsor, Julie. Amy introduced the business to Julie. She had her own business before Juice Plus, making candles at Sawgrass Mills Mall, and I'm sure other things that you can talk about, Amy. But she has been doing this a long time, filing her taxes and knowing what the write-offs are and stuff. I gave them a list of my template of kinds of things, but maybe you could wrap it all up in a bow, Amy, And, you know, if they have to get off, they have to get off. But we have at least 6 minutes till 1.
Okay, okay. Well, I'm sorry I'm late. I had something else that popped up and I was like, I wish I could clone myself and be 2 places at one time, right? But I'm super love connecting with all of you. Let me change the screen here so I can see all of you. So where do I start? You know, when I started with this, I did have my own business. Juice Plus was kind of like something that was running on a track next to the rest of my life. Like many of you might be working full time and got a family, and then Juice Plus was just fitting into my life. I was very intentional about sharing Juice Plus consistently. And having had a business before, I wanted to use every tax break that's legally available. I want to pay 100% of my taxes, but not a penny more. Okay. So, you want to do things right and document, where expenses go. So at the beginning, I reinvested a lot of my money that I made with Juice Plus back into my team, go into conferences, go into boot camps. I didn't show a lot of profit the first year or two, simply because I was reinvesting back. I saw the value in building the Juice Plus business, and I knew the model really, really worked, and I wanted to build something strong and lasting. And I look back on my history of where I am today and where I was, when I first got out of college. I was thinking about that this week, that I pay more in taxes every single month than I made my first entire year after I got out of college. Crazy thought to think about it. Okay, so now I want
That's
to use
code for he makes lots of money. Okay.
Well, I only say that because I want to use every legitimate tax deduction that's there. And like Sharon said, anything that's business related, I'm going to keep a receipt on that. I try to pay for everything with a separate credit card. That's my Juice Plus credit card. I try not to pay cash for things, for Juice Plus related things, because the credit card is a good document that plus I try to save the receipts as well. So, if you just document things that are anything Juice Plus related, or if you're traveling, keep track of your mileage, get a mileage tracker where you can allocate, okay, I left the house today and I went to Sharon's house and we had a Juice Plus conversation, and then I came home, track that mileage. It's like 55 cents a mile, okay? But you've got to have a tracker where you mark that down. And the purpose of that conversation and going to Sharon's house was, distributor training. You talked about Juice Plus. There was distributor training that took place. Okay. Or I go have lunch with Susan Winnett. I'm going to expense that mileage because it was a Juice Plus related conversation. Okay. Or, I'm going to go to Hobby Lobby and buy something and I end up having a conversation with somebody while I'm there. I get their information and I'm going to text them a Juice Plus video. I had a Juice Plus conversation when I went out. I'm going to track that mileage, because that's a legitimate business expense, because this is the way we build our business, is as we do life wherever we go. Obviously going to conferences, even buying food that you're using for a Juice Plus event at your house, you can expense those kinds of things as well. So I'm just trying to keep track of any expenses. And I find also, when you do Juice Plus as you do life, you'll find that a lot of things that, when I was first getting started, I lived in South Florida. I would come up here to Georgia to visit my family. My family joined my Juice Plus business. I could come up here and visit family, do a Juice Plus event at my sister's house and expense that whole trip, the mileage to get there and the mileage home. So there's a lot of ways that you can legitimately write off certain things as an expense that you might have done anyway, or you enjoy it as part of your life. Does that make sense? But that's kind of what I've done. And I just, kind of keep I keep a folder where I keep all of my expenses by the month. And then you look at my credit card and, I use QuickBooks just to keep track of my expenses, and then it can spit out a report at the end of the month that this month, this was the amount of customer care, distributor care, travel expenses, restaurant eating out expenses are 50% expensable, but a Publix bill, because I used the food at a, for a Juice Plus in-home event, that's 100% expensable. So eating out at a restaurant is 50%, buying food at a grocery store that you're using for an event is 100%. So those are some of the things, that have helped me, just keep track, just keep good receipts. And that's the best thing if you ever have to prove that this is, legit. But you want to be making money, or they don't consider it I think you have like 3 years to show some sort of profit, for it to be considered a business. So I don't know where else we want to go with that, but does anybody have any questions? Karen.
Now, anybody else have any questions? And again, I'm going to put the disclaimer, like, we are not accountants, we are not tax people. So we're just trying to help you guys and give you guys ideas. I think there's been a couple of tax people mentioned in here. So if there's, any other generic questions, we're happy to try and help you guys, but you really need to talk to an accountant. So.
And I still do. I have an accountant that is familiar that works primarily with home-based businesses, and I'm always asking him questions, because.
So I should ask you who you use in Georgia. That's what I should.
Amy.
It's a guy out of California named Tom Bass.
Yeah, I mentioned him. Okay.
Catherine Lee used him when she was out there, and also I know Leanne Gordon uses him. So he was really helpful in helping me take even more deductions than I thought were available.
You guys are getting the best from us, because Amy and I have had to learn this for over 20 years, and now you're getting names and numbers. So good for you. Yeah. All right. So if you got anything out of this, it's to have a separate credit card or bank account for your business.
Right.
That's the bottom line, for sure. Okay, well, we're going to go. Thank you, Amy, for coming on. Very last minute. I asked her, don't we have the best support? Totally appreciate that. And I knew she would add a lot of value. So we'll be back on Monday and Wednesday next week for the Lunch and Learn. And then Friday, though, we won't have Lunch and Learn because we will begin our conference process, our JP Live Zooming to the max. So just watch all the flyers, and that's what we'll do for next week. All right, we'll see you Monday. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.